Hello everyone, I'm Dan Kennedy coming to you from the 11Alive streaming center. It has been a busy week across Georgia. Let's get you caught up with some of your headlines on 11Alive News this week. A man is now charged in the shooting death of a beloved pharmacy tech. This happened 5 months ago. Kimberly Whaley was shot and killed last November outside the CVS in Loganville. She had worked there for 7 years. 11Alive's Cody Alcorn has more on the arrest and new developments.
This morning, the Loganville Police Department and Gwinnett County Police SWAT arrested Evander Darrell Schultz.
Schultz is accused of shooting Kimberly Whaley outside the CVS pharmacy on Atlanta Highway in Loganville on November 14th.
Since November 14th of 2025, I'm hoping I might be able to sleep tonight because I hadn't really slept since.
That's because Loganville Police Chief Dick Lowry had Schultz in custody. Take a look. This is the moment officers arrested him in Lawrenceville shortly after the shooting. They later let him go.
When we were forced to have to release him the night that this happened, I assure you none of us were happy about it. There's a big difference in believing someone is guilty or has committed a crime, or even knowing in your heart that that person has committed a crime, and being able to prove it in a court of law.
Over the next 5 months,
that was certainly a concern for all of us.
Multiple agencies helped Loganville Police.
You have to be able to prove your case. I hate that it took 5 months for us to be able to develop that, and I know that's been extraordinarily difficult for Ms. Whaley's family.
The chief believes Schultz is their guy.
I'm very confident in the case we're presenting to our district attorney.
Still, many questions remain. The chief unclear on a motive.
There were no obvious connections. We don't believe that he knew Ms. Whaley.
I spoke to Whaley's spouse in January, who had no idea why she was targeted, but said it didn't appear to be a robbery.
She wasn't robbed. He didn't take anything from her. He just pulls up, shoots her, and gets back in the car and leaves.
Cody Alcorn, 11Alive News.
Now to that deadly shooting spree this week in DeKalb County. A man driving around in a rental car, seemingly shooting people at random. The suspect in that shooting spree has an extensive rap sheet. 11Alive's Marissa Sarback takes a look at some of his previous arrests.
Olau Lucatan Adon Abel was supposed to have his first court appearance today here in DeKalb County, but he actually waived his right to appear. He is currently being held in DeKalb County Jail, and from our research, we've learned this is the third jail he's been in as many years. In October 2024, records obtained by 11Alive show Olau Lucatan Adon Abel was convicted of shooting a peace officer in San Diego County. By 2025, he was out of jail and living in Georgia. He was arrested again in May 2025, accused of groping 5 women in the Savannah area within an hour.
Got to us and started petting my one dog, and I was like trying to move, and then he just grabbed my. And then I just turned around and screamed because I just didn't know what else to do.
Did he say anything after he did that?
Yes, he said, you're why I'm here, or I'm why you're here, I think. I don't even know what that meant, but he had an accent. And then this girl we just passed up on 37th, she was walking her dog, so I said, let's pull over and just tell her to be careful. And she said this just happened to her.
At Kroger's about an hour ago.
Yeah, there's about 3 reports in Northwest as well.
Oh my God.
Adon Abel was sentenced to 48 months probation and was instructed to undergo a mental health evaluation. He was banned from Savannah for 4 years and was not legally allowed to make contact with any of his victims.
And tell me why I'm under arrest.
All right, failure to identify.
Why am I under arrest?
You're not under arrest, you're detained, but if you don't
Why am I being
identify,
detained?
because you're matching the description of somebody.
Yeah, that wasn't me. I'm telling you, I haven't done anything like that.
Stop.
But it's been less than a year since that arrest, and Adon Abel is now accused of the shooting spree that left 2 people dead and another in critical condition across DeKalb County. The first shooting was at 12:50 a.m. on Monday at a Checkers on Wesley Chapel Road, where DeKalb County police say Adon Abel killed a woman. At 2 a.m., Brookhaven police say he shot a homeless man sleeping in the Cherokee Shopping Plaza who is now in critical condition. The arrest warrant states, quote, the defendant drives by the victim and slows down, comes back 5 minutes later and shoots at the victim from the vehicle 4 times, striking him 3 times. The third shooting was around 6:50 a.m. in a residential neighborhood in DeKalb County, where police say he shot and killed 40-year-old Lauren Bullis, who was simply taking her dog out for a walk on Battle Forest Drive, as she did every morning. Court records show an Atlanta address for Adon Abel. We knocked on the door, but no one answered. We also know 11Alive fled and was caught by the DeKalb County Sheriff's Office down by the Alabama border. He is now facing multiple charges, including murder, aggravated assault, and possession of a weapon by a convicted felon. Reporting at DeKalb County Court, Marissa Sarbach, 11Alive News.
Police are searching for a suspect who shot and killed a 17-year-old at a gas station. Rayshawn Mackey stopped at the BP gas station on the corner of Lakewood Avenue and Metropolitan Parkway, and Atlanta police say that's where he was shot in the chest. 11Alive's Gilad Malamed has more on the case.
Sidney Cox stepped outside to this police scene at a BP gas station after his fiancée heard a gunshot a little after 2 a.m.
I grieve for the family. I'm really grieving for the family, the whole community.
A few hours later, he learned 17-year-old Rayshawn Mackey was killed. Atlanta Police Lieutenant Christopher Butler says Mackey stopped at the gas station on Metropolitan Parkway with others while doing food delivery orders.
It seems like they were just a group of people out just, doing some work.
He says Mackey went into the store and there was a man upset about something. That escalated to gunfire. Butler says witnesses reported the man did not seem upset with the teen specifically, and it appears the two did not know each other.
The total circumstances of how they knew each other, that's kind of ambiguous at this point, but we're still trying to piece everything together and collect some video.
Officers canvassed a nearby apartment complex where Butler says canines detected potential evidence. Mackey is now the fourth child shot and killed in the city in about a week and a half.
This appears to be just isolated, this incident. In the incidents we've had over the past week, pretty isolated incidents of known parties or an accidental gunfire on the juvenile. So yeah, it's been a week.
Neighbors like Cox hope the violence stops soon.
Anytime some underage get killed is always sad. I have 10 grandchildren, so it really hurts not just me but the whole community when we have just senseless killings.
Lieutenant Butler says the suspect walked away. Police have not made an arrest and the investigation is ongoing. In Atlanta, Gilad Malamed, 11Alive News.
There was a high-profile visit in Athens this week that almost didn't happen. Vice President J.D. Vance joined a Turning Point USA event this week, but it came with a last-minute shakeup. Threats forced Erica Kirk to back out of that event. 11Alive's Angelina Salcido was there and shares details.
This event in Athens nearly didn't happen, with Vice President J.D. Vance telling the crowd that threats against Turning Point CEO Erica Kirk had her stay home and had organizers thinking about canceling the event hours before it began. The event, though, still continued with approval from the Secret Service, drawing a crowd of students and strong reactions, too. Vice President J.D. Vance taking the stage in Athens.
It's pretty good to be in SEC country, I have to say. It's great to be here.
Opening with a warning.
About 2 hours ago, as you know, Andrew, I was a little worried that we were going to have to cancel the event.
He tells the crowd threats against Erica Kirk kept her from attending and forced last-minute security decisions before quickly turning his focus to the next generation of voters.
And I know that politics is hard, and I know that it's challenging, and I know that things aren't always easy.
His message focused on young voters and their role in politics. But as questions open up, the conversation turned.
Hey, random dude screaming, I told you I'd respond to your point. I just want to respond to this question first.
At times heated.
The president.
On issues like the war in Gaza, the exchange quickly turning tense.
You see more humanitarian aid coming into Gaza than it has any time in the past 5 years.
The vice president pushing back.
Because we have taken that situation seriously.
He also addressed ongoing negotiations overseas, saying the U.S. is working towards a peace deal, but it's not there yet.
The reason why the deal is not yet done is because the president, he really wants a deal where Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon.
From immigration and job competition to housing costs and global conflicts, the questions coming directly from the crowd.
What is the game plan to win the midterms?
How is the Trump administration trying to fix that?
How do you think the conservative movement can be united?
Don't give up on this process. Get more involved in this process and demand more from people like me.
With the vice president addressing key topics and taking questions straight from the students, this high-profile stop brought national politics here to Athens. Reporting in Athens, Angelina Salcido, 11Alive News.
We'll have more news after this. You're watching 11Alive News this week on 11Alive Plus. Welcome back, everybody. Georgia elections are in a collision course with a change in the law. Have you heard about this? This change eliminates QR codes on paper ballots produced by Dominion voting machines. And 11Alive's Doug Richards reports that the state election board is under pressure to both act and to hold off on acting.
Please do not decide to become lawmakers. That's not your role.
Scott Turner was speaking to the state election board. The board met in Dawsonville with 100 people in the audience. It was packed with paper ballot activists.
Paper ballots are the most proven method for security.
At times, it had the feel of a country church revival, but versed on the minutia of elections with a lingering taste from 2020.
I think we all agree that the current situation is untenable.
Turner is a former legislator who was among those urging the state election board to not overreach to solve an election problem. The 2024 General Assembly passed a law banishing QR codes from the printed ballots produced by Dominion voting machines. But with elections later this year, the state is still set up to count votes with computers reading QR codes that voters themselves cannot read.
We have this deadline of July the 1st for the QR code removal.
Election board member Sally Grubbs told us she thinks the election board can direct individual counties this year to work around the QR codes. We asked her if that was a practical fix.
I think what's practical is what's good for the citizens of Georgia, and they need to have reliance on their vote.
I don't think it would be very practical, and I think there's also a question of legality there.
Kyle Gomez Lineweber was among the critics of Grubbs' pitch, who predicted it would end up in court.
Everything's going to be challenged.
Critics say lawmakers who adjourned their session April 3rd should have fixed the QR code issue in the law before they went home. The unanswered question is whether the governor will call lawmakers back into a special session so that they can pass an updated law so that this year's election can stay legal. In Dawsonville, Doug Richards, 11Alive News.
A well-known Atlanta entrepreneur is asking a judge to keep her financial records sealed. We're talking about Pinky Cole here, the founder of Slutty Vegan and now star of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. She says it's to protect her privacy as court records show millions in debt. 11Alive's Aisha Howard has more on what's in the filing.
Slutty Vegan CEO Pinky Cole in Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 17 newbie says that she wants to keep her Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing sealed. This is all according to TMZ. She came to 11Alive and even I asked her about the filing and her response to it in the social media chatter about it. She did this Miss Rachel parody to enlighten people about what the Chapter 11 bankruptcy meant. And I said, Pinky, did you think that was a little bit too far? Here's what she had to say.
It was genius. I'll tell you why. I'm a mad scientist. You gonna troll me, I'm gonna troll you back. You wanna talk about me? I'll talk about myself before you get the opportunity to talk about me. And you know, I'm a producer first, a television producer. So what I do know is if you got the people's attention, you could educate them in real time. So doing that Miss Rachel parody was really an opportunity to educate people who are not familiar with bankruptcy, who want to learn and don't even know that they need to learn.
So we'll continue to watch and see how this plays out and how she fares on her first season of Housewives of Atlanta.
A former High Museum executive faces up to a decade in prison for a federal embezzlement charge. The U.S. Attorney's Office says that Brady Lum is accused of using his position as chief operating officer to steal more than $600,000 from that museum. 11Alive's Grace King was in federal court and explains what's next for his case.
Brady Lum's attorney told the judge they're ultimately moving towards a guilty plea, but for now, Lum is maintaining his innocence as federal prosecutors build their case.
Lum is charged with one count of federal embezzlement stemming from a federal investigation that accuses him of, quote, using his position at the High Museum to steal more than $600,000 by doctoring invoices and approving transactions for personal purchase. For example, prosecutors say he submitted an altered invoice for roughly $9,100 in November 2024 that appeared to be for the museum's benefit, but the original invoice was actually for a guitar and accessories. They say he repeatedly purchased non-business items and services for himself, creating what U.S. Attorney Theodore Hertzberg called a personal slush fund, betraying one of Atlanta's civic crown jewels.
In court this morning, Lum surrendered his passport and agreed to transfer his firearms to someone else. He pleaded not guilty and will remain out on bond until his next hearing. His attorney, Don Samuel, told me he thinks that next court date will be a plea hearing. In downtown Atlanta, Grace King, 11Alive News.
There is a dangerous TikTok trend that is showing up in Metro Atlanta. Have you heard about the door kick challenge? So it goes like this. A teenager goes up to a stranger's door, middle of the night, kicks it, and then runs off. You can imagine police might have a warning about this one. 11Alive's Chase Howe reports.
Hi, you are currently...
I mean, that's just insane.
Devin Shaw says this Ring doorbell video shows exactly what happened to him over the weekend.
As soon as they kicked the door, I mean, it was like a loud boom, you know, it rung through the entire house. And my first initial reaction is, you know, at first I was startled and then immediately went into defense mode.
Shaw says he immediately grabbed his gun and went outside.
And there's 3 kids down the road and 1 kid that's about 150 feet away from the front door. All black clothing, hoods up, everything.
According to Shaw, the kids were around 16 or 17 years old. He believes it was all part of the viral door kick challenge on TikTok. But is it worth the clout? The Gwinnett County Police Department says no.
You're not ringing a doorbell and running off. You're attempting to kick somebody's door in, which is a criminal act. Like I said, potentially criminal trespass or burglary or criminal attempted burglary. So it leads to a very dangerous situation between a homeowner and somebody who thinks they're doing a social media prank.
Shaw wasn't the only one having this problem in his neighborhood. I spoke to other people off camera and they tell me that this has happened to them as well. And they have a message for parents, and it's to get a hold of your kids. In Gwinnett County, Chase Howell, 11Alive News.
You know, construction loans are supposed to protect borrowers with money paid only after the work gets done. But several Georgia homeowners say that their builder found a way around that, taking tens of thousands of dollars while subcontractors went unpaid. 11Alive senior investigator Rebecca Lindstrom shows us why they're now stuck with the fallout.
When the Taylor family posed for this photo in Lake Chautauqua Living for a story about their dream home and deep roots on the land.
This is family land. It dates back 7 generations.
They never imagined they would be back in the news, revealing this time the flaws in what appeared picture perfect.
So you'll see areas where the screws are popping through, still blue tape in areas, and honestly, I've taken a lot of the blue tape down.
Blue tape where the work was never finished.
If you notice the banister at the very end over there, it's not even connected.
The Taylors say this man, Kenneth Johnson, the owner of 4M Construction, stopped paying subcontractors even after taking large draws from their construction loan. Then, they say, he disappeared.
Cabinets still owed money, paint, plumbing still owed money, electrical still owed money.
To access that money, the bank required Johnson to sign waivers that all subcontractors had been paid. According to records filed with the Taylors' lawsuit, he did. But no one asked the subcontractors if it was true.
And this is over $120,000 of our mortgage funds.
11Alive Investigates found 2 other homeowners who also worked with Johnson and had the same story: unfinished homes and unpaid subcontractors filing liens. We went looking for Johnson.
Cops, attorneys, whatever you want. Everybody's looking for this guy.
He was no longer renting this coming house, but we did find records indicating he had opened a new construction company and even a trucking business.
Hello, we are trying to reach roots and roofs.
Homeowners want to know if money from any of those projects will go back into finishing their homes.
And we were just checking in to see.
A brief text response to my questions claimed jobs like the Taylors were completed, unless they didn't pay or they parted ways with Johnson's company. When we pointed out Johnson was paid, we got silence.
Even if you're able to get a judgment against that contractor or get some sort of award against them, that doesn't end the problem.
Because collecting that money can be nearly impossible if business owners go into hiding, file bankruptcy, hide assets, or simply choose to ignore court rulings.
This is theft.
Regardless how the Taylors see it, police will take a report but rarely make an arrest. And the construction loan process many would-be homeowners thought would protect them often doesn't. We surveyed 10 banks and credit unions. Of those that responded, 3 said they confirm the work is done, and depending on the loan, may require proof subcontractors got paid. But attorney Eric Tusink recommends writing that protection into your building contract before the first dollar is ever released. If they say no,
maybe they're not the right contractor for you.
For these families, that lesson came too late. Forced to pay twice to clear the liens so they could move in.
It's been devastating to us financially, emotionally, mentally.
The land their family has held for generations.
We've worked our whole lives for this, so this is our home.
Now holds a new story. In Hiawassee, Rebecca Lindstrom, 11Alive investigates.
We'll have more after this. You're watching 11Alive News this week on 11Alive Plus. An Atlanta mom is finding healing through process after losing her daughter more than 20 years ago to a violent shooting. This mother now gaining a new appreciation for life inspired by her late daughter's love of horses. Joe Ripley reports.
Veronica Deal's daughter Brittany found happiness in riding horses.
I actually credit that horse with helping me to raise her. She was focused, she was determined, she was grounded, she had passion.
This mother's world shattered in 2006 when her daughter was gunned down as a result of domestic violence. Brittany was just 22 years old.
He shot her 3 times, once in the leg, once in the chest, and once in the back of the head. I had a stroke and brain surgery. My grief and stress met. It formed a mass on my brain.
Deal formed Brittany's Reign to honor her daughter's legacy, introducing equestrian therapy to help people heal.
The power of the horse is something magical.
Erin Brown, the concrete cowgirl, helped launch Deal's organization. The Philadelphia-based equestrian focuses on boosting mental health among young people, especially in urban communities.
I love seeing people who look like me out here doing it. Every child doesn't want to play basketball. Every child doesn't want to play football. Some kids want to ride horses.
For Veronica Deal,
I'll always remember my daughter as just a bright, shining star.
Finding healing after horror, getting back in the saddle, means giving others the reins to life's journey.
I personally just didn't feel like a child's parents' bank account or zip code should determine if they have the opportunity to at least try it.
Delta Airlines announcing some new upgrades. 11Alive Savannah Levins posted this video to explain what might be coming to your next flight.
All right, travel bugs, listen up. Delta's getting ready to launch some fancy bougie upgrades. The announcement just came down. They said this is going to arrive early 2027 on their new Airbus fleet. And it's not just first class getting upgrades on this plane. Delta Comfort's getting a facelift with new memory foam, bigger seats, more leg room, and everyone is getting bigger TVs. First class, though, is really getting some fancy upgrades, including this anytime snack and beverage station if you don't want to wait on your flight attendant. They're going to have more lay down room. Delta said that they figured more people are side sleepers, and this is going to better accommodate that. There's going to be wireless charging stations, a privacy screen, and a couple other little upgrades. Now, here's the best part for me as someone who has never paid to fly first class. I'm a local journalist, not a doctor, okay? Bluetooth on all the TV screens. Hallelujah. Praise the Delta gods. Because I swear I always forget the little cord on my big Bluetooth headset and I have to use those little earbuds that hurt your ears. Ugh, this is going to be great. So if you book a flight in 2027, maybe you'll get lucky and be on one of these new fancy planes. Honestly, I'm just glad we're going in the direction of more room and not less.
Historic Route 66 turns 100 this year. Our Doug Turnbull shares the long-lasting memories of one former 11Alive reporter who decided to drive the whole highway.
How fitting. A traffic reporter tackles Route 66 in retirement, but Jerry Carnes had it on his mind well before.
I'd been thinking about it for a long time because I'd never done a road trip across the United States.
And planning a trip with such breadth could not be as seat of the pants as Jerry imagined, so the organizer of the two, wife of 41 years, Katie, took the reins. And they didn't want to take the trip too early for Chicago cold or too late for the desert heat, and they didn't want to wait until the crowds of the 100th anniversary of the route this year. So they settled on last April.
I map it out, and then I see where all the hotels that we have to stop at, and I think about how far we can drive each day. That's a puzzle, and I love a good puzzle.
Katie's trade-off for agreeing to Route 66 was that she could see more national parks along the way, and they've now seen about 2/3 of the nation's 63. The Carnes used a book, a Route 66 app, GPS, AI, and road maps to go just where they wanted to on the twisting, turning, done and redone highway.
It's fractured, it's there are sections of it that are from different eras that are right next to each other.
Many of the towns along the way dried up when the big interstates opened, but taking the road less traveled led them to staying in the same hotels old movie stars did and classic rooms with no TVs, and forced them to meet their motel neighbors and other characters along the way. In an era of freeways and frequent flyer miles, Jerry listed numerous reasons why life, including retirement, should not always be 70 miles per hour.
It's an adventure. So it's not really driving. It's not a drudgery. It's not boring. You're looking here and there. I like that.
They took 5 weeks to drive from Atlanta to Chicago to begin the route, and then from there 2,000 plus miles southwest to Route 66's end in Santa Monica, California, with plenty of detours, and then they went east, across Texas and back home. And with such a complicated trip that involved tornadoes, freezing temps, hail, and a 108-degree New Mexico day, also Jerry getting COVID, what did they learn as they embark now on the longer journey of retirement together?
Give grace.
Allow the other person to be who they are.
Hey, thanks for watching 11 Alive News this week. I'm Dan Kennedy. More news on the way next.